And can't do that. So I'm only left with this option. See? Suggest I am. Let's refresh and see what happens. I don't have time for your YouTube mess. Oh, there I am. Hello. Let's see. Hello, welcome in. How are you? Happy New Year. I'm just waiting a few minutes to see if a couple of folks drop by to hear all this bad news that I have to share. Potential bad news. But I just want to give you the heads up just in case I'm right. That I done did my job and I done did my job right. We're going to see. Just going to wait a few more minutes. I hope you can hang in. But if you can't, I also understand that. If you can hear me and see me, I would appreciate, some feedback. Because I tried to go, I guess I was going live on Google Hangouts, but I really didn't understand that application. So I backed out and came over here to what I know better. But even though I'm over here, of course, my computer is having technical issues and it won't allow me to have my boards side by side anymore. So I don't see myself in real time. I'm a little delayed, so I'm trying not to look at myself while I'm on this live because it throws me off. Just some little conversation. God dang it. Some little kind of lighthearted conversation. I've been thinking about, now this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm just talking to see if any other folks come in. I've been thinking about dimensions. I'm a YouTube junkie, and so I've come across a lot of different videos. And one of the topics that I come by is about dimensions. Is it dimensions? Yeah, 3D, yeah, D-dimensional. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D. And a lot of people are saying that we're moving into 4 or 5 and 6D. Now, this subject matter, again, has nothing to do with the topic I'm talking about. I'm just talking about something to fill some time to see if folks come in. So, again, I hope you hang around. And can y'all hear me? Can I get some feedback? Can you hear me and see me? I'm not sure what's really going on here. Let me check my end because nobody commented even on the Google Hangouts. So did I spell it right? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And so I was like, what do they mean when they say we rising up to 4D and 5D and 6D and 7D? And so, I've just been pondering that. Hi, Pam. How you doing? Thank you. Hi, Emily. Hi, Brielle. Thank y'all for dropping by. I don't like just talking to myself all of the time. So I really appreciate you all for lending me y'all ears. And if I'm being funny, if you're not in a space, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, or physically to want to hear or listen to bad news, this really is not the live stream for you. But I do thank you for your support. I thank you for dropping by. Please hit the like button before you go out just to support me. But I'm going to share something. And of course, even though I'm a professional tarot reader, I am an amateur astrologer. And the interpretation I'm going to share with you about the astrology is kind of premature. I've been working on the interpretations for about 9 hours. I did about 4 or 5 hours yesterday, another 4 or 5 hours today. And I'm still not fully done, but I think I got the concept of it. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that in this live stream. I'm also going to be talking about, once again, the movie Bird Box, and it's for a reason. I'm also going to be talking about the dark side of the moon. That's what I forgot to Google, is who supposed to have put something on the dark side of the moon. Was it China or something like that? And so I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about this political thing about the building of the wall. And so the core issue that is surrounding with China. Okay, thank you. The core issue that or the core subject matters that bridge all of those topics or things together that I've talked about, Bird Box and all that kind of stuff, Dark Side of the Moon, is negative, it's bad news, but it's also enlightening, and it will permit you to prepare and to brace yourself. Again, I'm an amateur. Take what I share with you with a grain of salt. Remember, my channel is under entertainment, so you can look at it as entertainment because you ain't got nothing else to do. But grab you a hot cup of coffee or something cool to drink and just talk with me. So I don't do what? Be talking to myself. Once again. Let me finish my thought. That has nothing to do with, I can't say nothing. It probably does have something to do with it upon deeper meditation or ponderance upon it. Talking about the dimensions. So first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, so on. Hearing on YouTube, people we're supposed to ascend into the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh dimension. And so I was just pondering that, and I was talking about that just to, have something to discuss until people come in. And now I got a little, some guests here, y'all. Thank y'all again for dropping by. So the one dimensional, I was like, what is one dimensional? And I looked down and saw my shadow. I said, is that the initial dimension, the shadow dimension? Because our shadows lay on the floor. It has no depth. It's just a point or space on the ground. I said, okay, but then I talked to divinity. What's the second dimension? I said, so if my shadow began to rise off of the floor, coming from being flat, a shadow level, and just began to rise, once it obtained depth, I think it is, attained height, 1 inch, then all of a sudden, we move from one dimensional into a two-dimensional space, because we would have what, like a width and a height? So what does it mean to be three-dimensional? Well, we're familiar with that. We're three-dimensional beings, and we live in a three-dimensional world. Basically, you can turn around and, be viewed around. You can turn and rotate all the way around. That's how I think of three-dimensional. Again, I'm just sharing my thoughts. This ain't what this video about. Excuse me, live stream. And so I was like, okay, Lord, then, what's the fourth dimension? Well, upon pondering, I was thinking, the fourth dimension we've already obtained. We've been obtained it. And how did we obtain it? Because the fourth dimension is, once you become 3D, the next level is to be able to come outside of yourself and to view yourself, literally view yourself. And so this laptop allows me to view myself, and it allows me to view myself in like a two-dimensional, from a two-dimensional perspective. Depending on what technology a person has, they can view themselves 3D if they have some type of apps or tools that they can take a picture of themselves rotating three-dimensionally, put that vision or that projection onto the laptop and watch it rotate. So we've already obtained like 4 dimension. And then the 5th dimension is to be able to actually, what was I thinking? To interact with that 3-dimensional projection or model of ourselves. And why was that important? Because I really wanted to understand what people are saying when they say that we are moving into 4D. We already there. 5D. Can we be outside of ourselves and kind of puppeteer our own selves? I think that's where we would pick up at as being puppeteers or literally masters of our own self or our own vessel. Now I've chattered and just shared my little crazy thoughts and the way my brain processes things. And now I begin to be the bearer of bad news. I'm playing the game, y'all. Let's see. Bearer of bad news. I guess I can start with what I've been working on. I'm not going to go through it. I'm just going to kind of summarize the astrological energies before I go in the movie Bird Box and stuff. Or should I, in which order should I share this? Now, this is my interpretation, of the astrological energies, like 21 pages. No, I'm not going through it. I'm just going to summarize what I've come up with. Again, it is a premature interpretation. And of course, that's irresponsible of me to do so. But I need somebody to talk to. And not only that, if I'm correct, then this is a heads up. And it can be beneficial to you. And I want it to be beneficial to you because I love you. I love you. And so what does the astrological energies for late January talk about? It talks about the energy unfolding about, let me see how I can break this up in sections. First and foremost, it suggests that each of us have had our series of previous life experiences. We've done what we've done and we've made the decisions that we've made. And at that time, we were creating our future. So, as always, in the month of January, here comes the unfolding of those things that we created from our previous life experiences and choices. The astrological energy suggests that these unfolding experiences that we will have will come on rapidly. They'll be coming high, mermaid, coming on aggressively, very powerfully, meaning they're going to push their way into our reality unapologetically. So, what else did I want to talk about? Another thing that the astrological energy seems to be talking about is that I want you to, how can I say, be, and now, hold on. Y'all know I ain't got no order because y'all see all this. But I was just talking about dimensions and what dimension we are in. And right now, I would like for you to jump into the 4th dimension. Remember, I was saying that upon pondering, it seems like the 4th dimension is where you're able to come outside of yourself and view yourself. And so that's what I would like you to invite you to do. So as we move through this little astrological energy interpretation, just visualize yourself right in front of yourself in a mirror, whatever the case may be. So you see you, and you know that you've, again, had your specific or unique life experiences. You made your choices that you made. You were making your bed now. In the month of January, once again, it's time to lay in that bed. And those unfolding experiences come on quickly, very quickly, very forcibly into our lives, into your life. So just imagine you sitting over there and all of a sudden all of these experiences, whatever they may be, again, they're specific to you. in your past life begin to roll into your life. You may be sitting at home, I'll say, this is just case scenarios, and you're watching TV. I don't know what you might have an interest in. You may have an interest in watching like Atlanta Housewives, or I was talking about You Think You Can Sing, all of these things. You might be interested in Cardi B or Beyonce or Jay-Z or whatever your thing is. I don't know. And you see them living the life of luxury. And you realize in a moment that, dang, that must be nice to have that fur coat. Or that must be nice to have that nice car. It must be nice to have your bills paid. It must be nice to have whatever. It's about the focus here is on your second house. And the second house is the house of Taurus. And it talks about your physical, worldly wants, needs, and desires. Those things that you desire in life that makes life worth living, whatever they may be. And so you see somebody else, a possible social role model, flossing, whatever it is that you really like. And you see that, you're like, dang, that must be nice. So I'm moving forward, and I'm just interpreting the astrological energy before I jump into those other topics that I want to cover, but it all goes together. Now you're looking at yourself having this experience. And when you see that social role model or the avatar, flossing cars or money or jewelry or shoes, and you say, you get a revelation in the month of July. I mean, not July, January. I'm jumping ahead. January. And it is directly related to what you desire, what you really feel like you want in this life. And what we most of us, I do believe, want is just to feel okay and secure, know that the bill's going to be paid, to be able to go out a few times to eat or to the show with our loved ones, whatever the case may be. But some of us don't have it, or it's fleeting, whatever the case may be. You get this realization in January. Anyway, the astrological energy seems to go on, and I haven't really crossed any aspects. That's why I say it's premature. But it's the subject matters that seem to be coming up topic. So ride with me, y'all. So the astrological energy seems to be talking to us kind of like a preacher, or and that could be my own personal filter, I admit, or an advisor. And it says to us, you, sitting there, seeing others living your dream out, lifestyles of the rich and famous, popping bottles and doing that it says, understand that at this point in time, it is important to begin to really live practically, and that it is important for you to have developed the skills or the spiritual gift of discernment so that you can tell what is and what is not. In this case, what are we challenged with discerning? What is important or necessary to the sustainment of our life so that we can be okay and content? And I'm not saying that you have to give your worldly possessions away. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about our lifestyles, especially in the United States, are very lascivious and rich. Even if we're struggling, even if it's difficult, we still look pretty nice when we walk out the door, and we have our many pairs of shoes, our many dresses, clothes. Some of us got a car, some of us got two. We got a house, some little furniture, little knickknacks and stuff. So that's what I mean by lascivious. But we not balling like, Beyonce and Jay-Z and Cardi B and whatever their name is. We ain't got Atlanta housewife stuff going on. And so we be like, we admire them because we want more. And I'm going somewhere. I'm just interpreting the astrological energy. So the astrological energy minister to us or advises us is, hey, practice discernment. Or this is a time period in which you can be fooled. What will you be fooled by? We will be fooled by, and it's already happening, the glitz and glamour, the extravagance that exists in our world, as if everything is okay. Remember, this is a video, live stream, and I am here to be the bearer of bad news on purpose. This is what you call fear porn. You say water is a luxury, taking a shower, flushing toilets too. Exactly. Those are things that we really do need. We don't need 20 pair of shoes, but some of us got them. I'm guilty, those kind of things. And so it's saying, you got to look at what's real. It almost seems like it's saying, get to the basics, see what's real, because we are, what do you worshiping or lusting or desiring and wanting so much, so much. And so we see those that do have it, the ones that floss in front of us, living the lifestyles of the rich and famous. And it's like we can't discern that we're, even in our state, we're kind of overboard. We're kind of overboard. And I don't know how to say it better than that. We're kind of overboard, kind of over the top. I admit that if this realm of this earth was more balanced, and everybody had their equal portions, then most likely where I am today, living the life of a slob in the slum, not slob, but slum, I'm still overboard. And that's something to say. That's hard to swallow because, again, we live in this lavish, lascivious kind of life. And so I'll move on. Still talking about the astrological energies. Every time I get here, somebody commenting and make all that noise. So the next thing the astrological energies talked about is how the past, the present, and the future are living out simultaneously. And what does that suggest? You hear me when I do some videos, I talk about the progression through life is like watching paint dry. You don't realize you're moving from one scenario into the other. An example of a scenario or sequence of events that we think we know is like that one of death. You live, you're born, you live, and then you die. See, it's concrete in. But in life, you don't get that. Long as you're alive, you don't get the death. So you don't see the end. It's not finalized. And so it just kind of, the progression of life just kind of flows in. It flows in. Hi, Dan. And you answered me, but I didn't even see your name. How you doing? It just flows in. And so I bring that up, and the astrological energies bring it up because it's pointing to how we made decisions in the past. And because we made decisions in the past, a progression has been taking place all that time. And we're moving into the residual effects of it. And so change is taking place. Whether you can see hi, Debbie. Deb, I just got your little note there. Changes are taking place, whether you know it or not. Remember, the astrological energy talks about, hey, embrace the skill or the talent or the ability of discernment. Understand things are changing. We, on an individual level as well as a collective level, have had our previous life experiences. We made our decisions, and the residual effects are rolling out. They've been under development. And the next astrological energy talks about how all of that time, when we did stuff back then and we didn't think it was going to catch up with us, all of the time we've been cultivating it. We have been cultivating what is to be. Our future is incontestable. Certain things will manifest. Hi, Rob. And so what am I saying? Let me give you a kind of an example of how I saw this playing out in my mind. Society, especially in the United States, when I'm primarily talking about United States, unless I just say a different part of the country, world. We have propaganda, we have the entertainment industry that, pushes to society beauty and again, living a life of luxury and traveling, being free. These are things that we want. There's a commercial or whatever you call it here on YouTube that says that one praise on individuals or person's natural desire to be okay in life, to have a great life. And so they make big promises. And so we're up under this kind of illusion or spell. That's why the discernment is so important, and it's being spotlighted in the astrological energy. But what I was going to say, and so that glitz and glamour, all of them years, all the beauty, all the magazines, and that's just one aspect. It's the music, is everything that we're exposed to, has been leading us people to not see or deal with the real issues that have existed. Hey, Marie, you say, don't believe what people say? I feel you. So I research. And so over time, those things that we haven't dealt with and were swept under the rug, they just kept building and building and building. Okay. So the time comes that eventually you got to pay the Pied Piper. You got to have the experiences. And so we're here. All that time we've been cultivating it. What am I saying? By ignoring it. We've been cultivating it by or feeding it. Either we've been feeding it or ignoring it. And so the time has come for it to manifest our residual past experiences and choices into the physical. Now, this happens all the time. It does. But it's this period, this time in the history in humanity that has a particular, I'll say, supposed manifestation to happen based on like the last 50 years or so and the things we did, decisions we made, the things we swept under the rug. So here we are today. It is unfolding. Remember, we couldn't see the transition or the progress in life. There was no sudden death or breakaway to say that's over or this is over or this has been done or it's been swept under the carpet. No, we slowly progress. So I'm going somewhere with this. Still got those other topics to cover, but I just wanted to share the astrological energy. Again, it's premature, but I need somebody to talk to other than myself, y'all. So take what I say with a grain of salt. My channel is listed under entertainment. But if I'm interpreting this right, then you have the heads up, and I do too. And it says, so since we know that we live in a culture, I'll say that is very luxurious and lascivious and those kind of things, that it is important for you to understand what you actually have to work with. Do you have a little savings? Do you have a strong family unit? Do you have a sound mind? Do you have a healthy body? I remember not too long ago, the astrological energy said, take account of what you got and be appreciative of it. That's why I kind of say the energy, I know it's my filter, but the energy is kind of seem spiritual or religious, like a pastor, or in this case, I'll just say an advisor, is speaking to humanity and saying, hey, take account of what you got that's real, not the glitz and glamour and all the fabulous bells and whistles, not that stuff. The stuff that you need to sustain your life so that you can be healthy, of sound mind, body, and heart. And you can, sustain the lives not only of yourself, but those up under your care. Take account of what you have and take care of it. And understand those are the tools that you have to work with during this period. Goes on. What do you have to say? I was talking to my daughter about that today. Take care of what you have. Going on, still trying to interpret this energy, just some summaries so I can go over and talk about the bird box, the building of the wall, and the dark side of the moon. Going somewhere. I'm going to probably forget, so I'm going to say this word here. After I've done this, I'm going to go into talking about those other subject matters. And the word that I want to use, but I know I might forget, is subliminal. Subliminal messages to the public or to humanity or to the populace. They are subliminal messages. Health, affection, right? These things, family, love, I'm jumping the gun. Don't start, Maria. So the next thing is individuals' level of self-worth is very obvious. And I remember it was some astrological energy that kind of covered this, because I remember it's talking about at one time talking about evaluate yourself versus evaluate yourself, evaluate your state of your soul, evaluate your fear, physical, worldly, treasures, and see what you have. Now here it's saying that it is very obvious where a person is as far as a relationship to this world and their level of success and wealth. We know that some people have better health. Some people have more money, more clout, more social clout. We know this. What the astrological energy is seeing is pointing at that some people have more power than others. And so it seems like it's saying, know who you are and where you are. And basically, you got to get prepared to like stay in your lane. Going on to the next. And what else is it talking about? And upon understanding that the results of past life decisions are unfolding rapidly into our lives, and that we see others with the things that we want, and we look at what we got, and we can't even appreciate what we got because they have so much more. This is a time period to look at what you got and see what's real. What makes it real? It can sustain your life. It can help your health. It can feed your family. It can keep y'all safe. You can build some memories, those kind of things. Integrity, things that are built in integrity or whole integrity. Yes. Things that are truly wealth. And it says, okay, now you know that. You also know that, gosh dang it, I talk so much. That's something that you have to work with. The next thing is after you do all this evaluating, all the stuff I talked about, it is about coming to an understanding about what you actually, being aware about what needs to be done. What changes do you need to make? Like what kind of tweaks do you need to make to fortify yourself? Those kind of things. Or what things do you need to release in order to secure your well-being, your existence, and your wealth, your health, and all those kind of things? What do you need to release? And I say that because if I'm interpreting this right, it seems that we may be moving into, again, I'm the bearer of bad news today, into a very, very difficult and challenging time. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope that the time we move into, even if it's challenging, it's so solemn that we don't even notice, like we don't notice nothing else. I really hope so. However, let's say it gets a little more strenuous or rigid or a little more difficult than the normal. It suggests that if you have something or someone in your life that is not helping you in any way, or you can't help it, this is the time to let it go. It also talks about understanding what you need to tweak in order to, again, sustain your life. Have you been saying you're going to change your job, go after another job, but you've been procrastinating? But it gives you more security, like health insurance, increased money, or, things that we need to help us be able to be the best employees we can possibly be. Or I don't know, getting, your home together. I've been in people's home before where you open their refrigerator, they got some water, a slice of cheese, and it's not that they don't have the money. That's not their primary focus. They might like to shop. They feel like they're never home, so maybe some people want to go, buy a few extra groceries and stock up, what I'm saying? Because this is a challenging time. It seems that we're moving into, and the challenges will begin to increase steadily and forcefully. And so I move forward, still talking about the astrological energies and the messages that were offered. I'm going to try to move forward a little quicker. And the next thing it says, now there are certain things that you knew you needed to do. Like you might need to let go of that abusive partner that's beating you up, not you, That person that's getting beat up, that is emotionally abusive, and they draining all your energy, or you have a job and the human relations are not going well, and you had an opportunity for another job. You've been knew you needed to make the changes, but you have not. You've resisted. The astrological energy seems to suggest that even though you resisted, this time period is going to push you to make the change. So go ahead and begin the process yourself, because the change is taking place. And even that which you resist is also changing. It's like the energy will be there at your back to help you move on that which you've procrastinated on, that kind of thing. So we know that. And it goes on, it says now, the next thing that I have a summary of is pursuit of support to accomplish the personal goals. Let me see. I was speaking. I might have jumped something in the notes, but I'm not going to go back. It seems that the astrological energy is suggesting that we're moving into a time period that things, again, will be more stringent or stressful or challenging. And in what area? Well, across the border. And that's why I wanted to talk about the wall. And so that takes us to our, I guess, commander in chief. I'm trying to keep it as loose as possible, because I don't want YouTube to just penalize me for putting a message out. And so I'm talking about social issues like the economy, jobs, health, insurance, the basics, the same thing we watch the news about. If you watch the news still, every day, or the things we have concern with, or the things that we're dealing with, the cost of food. I was at the market today. The cost of food is going through the roof. People are being laid off. See, I'm talking about the real stuff. I always tell you, I love to be a tarot reader. I love to help y'all work through some things, but it's this real stuff that's starting to come up. It's been coming up. It seemed like it's what's the word? All coming together, or accumulating, or it's like some things are really about to emerge that I don't think we're ready for. And I say this again, it's scary. It is scary, but I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be prepared, just in case. Again, I am an amateur astrologer. This is premature because I didn't do the aspects and stuff. Like I said, I've been working on it for, I might 9 or 10 hours, and I'm tired, but I think I kind of got it. And it's saying right now, at this point in the history of humanity, we are about to live out who we are as a collective. I mean, just looking at who we are as a collective and the things that we're focused on. Again, we're focused on Atlanta housewife. We're focused on buying the biggest house, the bestest, fastest car, the highest stilettos. I mean, wearing the flyest hair. That's what we like, and it's beautiful. But because we continue to do it and we've ignored so many other important aspects of life, so many more important issues, there is a residual effect. And the time is coming, it's here, quickly approaching, coming on, building up in momentum, that we have to live out the effects of those choices. And so here we are. And it says that at this time when people feel, I'll say, vulnerable, frustrated, worried, or concerned, it depends on the depth of the experience, we'll begin to pursue our own interests kind of relentlessly. Because what? It's a natural instinct to, with self-preservation, to preserve your life. We instinctually feel like we must. And it goes deeper, because it's not even just about that. Because we can go, if we possibly could, learn how to achieve kind of living with the bare basics. But we've grown accustomed to a particular type of lifestyle. We're all royalty, and we live just like that. And you've heard me talk about it in other live streams where not me or you, but there are people in this world that have excavated Earth's natural resources. We took it all. We have enjoyed it. Now it's time to live out the residual effects. So here we are. Either we could become more conscious. You know, those people that environmentalists and things like that. I think they were right. I think they were right. And we should have been more conscious about our environment and about each other and how we work together and all these things and how we sustain our lives here in this physical world. But we weren't. We enjoyed life. And I can say for myself that life, how Maya Angelou say, life ain't been no crystal staircase. It ain't. It has not. And I fuss and complain almost every day. I'm a bitch. All the letters are capital. However, in my right mind, and when I humble myself, I realize I've been blessed. I am truly blessed. However, even for me, it would be challenging for me to live simplistically or minimally, while others get to live lavishly. That would be a problem for me. Anyway, I move forward and I talk about how, people will be in pursuit of satisfying themselves. Some will be possibly moving to just satisfy the basics, but many will be moving to satisfy the ego-driven desires. Y'all heard me talk about it because we want to turn up. Astrological energy seems to be talking about that. It goes on. Let's talk about emotionally charged reasons for one supporting a particular agenda. What does that mean? It's saying anything that we hold an interest in, anything that we contribute to, we believe with all our heart that it's going to eventually help us get what we want. Hello, Zip. Yes, we have stripped Mother Earth of all our resources. Wow. Yep. It goes. It's back. Take more. Yep. Karma. Yep. Yep. You can think about a collective karma. Collective karma. Yep. Great. Thank you. Yep. And it says, now this is the energy that messed me up. I learned something new today. And actually has to do with the energy of Lilith in astrology. But then it's the opposite or her counterpart that messed me up. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Lilith is talks about the moon, has to do with the moon energy, the emotions and how they rage and how you are compelled to do what you do and you will move on it because you just got to and ain't nobody can tell you no, especially not no man. You will do it by more feminine means such as persuasion and sex appeal and allurement and trickery. But her counterpart, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. It's in the energy name or the asteroid's name. But I'm just saying her counterpart, the masculine energy is aggressive. And he takes it by force, by any means necessary. Those energies were a part of this astrological energy. So what am I saying? It seems like if things get pushed too hard, people will be so forceful in satisfying their own desires. Not just the simple desires. No, the egotistical driven desires, wanting to pop their collar, and it'll be by any means necessary. And they'll push forward. Anybody that they interact with or engage with or contribute to is somebody that they know going to give them back something in return that can benefit them. Yep. The state of selfishness. And so let's think about that person. Okay, you can come out of 4D. And now we are remote viewing and we're looking at somebody else in society. How they're out on the run, seeking to satisfy whatever they think is. A drug addict want they drugs, an alcoholic want they alcoholic, a fashionista want her clothes, she gonna go get it, the one that want to ride the ride gonna go get it, or whatever else your thing is. People gonna go out and get it forcefully. It just depends on how tight it get, what they will do to get it. So, people, the astrological energy is saying just how people are devoted, or um, they really resonate with their social status and having to keep up like the fronts, those kind of things. I got to keep up the fronts. I got to make it look good. Why is that? Now, this is a question I ask myself all the time. Again, my life is blessed. It's not where I want to be because I'm not popping bottles, but I can't say I'm homeless, I'm starving. Oh, God, please, no. um, but I took a walk yesterday, and as I walked up my walkway, I looked up and down my block, and I was like, what state are my neighbors in as far as having food or clothes? Are their bills paid? Is something threatening to get cut off? Is their car about to get repossessed? Not that I got the money to help them, but I realized in that moment, these are the kind of thoughts I have when divine talking to me, the conversations that I have with it, this divine energy, is I would never know. I would never, ever know. Why? Because even though they're my neighbors, but I can't say that person, but I'm going to say it like this. Even though we have neighbors, we don't know what's going on in their intimate life, within their four walls, or with their bank account. We don't know if they have food or not. We don't know, if the kids got underwear or they got tissue. We don't know. And we really don't have an interest in other people. We just making sure our stuff tight. Basically, that's all we can do. Plus, we want to pop them bottles. But I realized that in entering a difficult or challenging social time, such as what the astrological energy seem to suggest, it's like there will be people that don't know what to do. Who do they call on? People without families or friends, people that died out, moved away, whatever the case may be. And there's no support there for them. Now, of course, families, or people that have families that are very supportive or a part of the community, or a community or a major organization, may find more relief or assistance, or where you kind of work together. May loneliness exist. But guess what? We are so conceited. We are so egotistical that we won't even let our neighbor know that we're hungry. Because I believe in saying, hey, I do this. So that's why I say I'm a little different. I talk to all my neighbors and they all know me. Do they all like me? No, but they all know me. They probably wish they didn't know me, but the whole point is, even my worst neighbor, the neighbors from hell, I just can't fathom them being down the street and I don't have nothing. I ain't gonna act like I got something. I'm worried every day. But the possibility that they could be hungry, or they say hypothetically is not, I'm not saying this, but their water shut off and they can't bathe, or they don't have nothing to drink, or heck, it gets tight, they ain't got a tissue to wipe their butt, or no bleach to mop their floor. That's serious. That's the person's lifestyle, quality of life. And one's quality of life, we know it helps to define who they are. So that bothers me. And I realized in that moment that I was outside all this ranting that I'm doing is that we're so egotistical. We most likely, unless it got real bad, we wouldn't reach out and say, hey, neighbor, I need some help, And even if we do, some of us are so egotistical and narcissistic and selfish and self-centered that we may not even extend a hand. And if we did, we might even talk about them. But I'm going outside the astrological energy. Moving on. It says humanity exists in a deceptive illusion. I found that interesting because remember early on, I'm trying to speed up. Early on, I was talking about how the energy said, hey, it is imperative. It's important that you come to have discernment, to be able to see and to interpret and understand what you're looking at. And why is this necessary? Because here the astrological energy saying, hey, at this point in time in the history of humanity, We are living in a deceptive or an illusional realm, a deception, a brand deception. And that's when you hear me say everything sounds so religious to me all the time. And I understand that is partially my filter from when I was in the church. But I try to just kind of stick to the definitions that go with each house and sign and things like that. But when I get so close, when the interpretation gets so close to something that was said when I was in the church, I kind of, put that passion there with it. It says in the Bible, that's what it says. It does. And so here the astrological energy is saying we are living in a time and a space in which we're in the midst of a delusion. So you need the spiritual gift, is what I want to say, the spiritual gift of discernment so that you can see. And the first thing the astrological energy said you need to see is that just because somebody popping bottles and it's a bunch of glitz and glamour going on, it don't mean everything is okay. Okay, and we're talking about the astrological energies for late January, and they're already unfolding. The next energy is about building of a tough skin, and wisdom. It says through your life, how to go, basically through your life experiences, certain people, I think more than others, I know I have been in training, spiritual training. Hardships, hard times in life, going through deaths, illness, sickness, again, can't pay your bills, worry, and somehow you overcome, you make it. And so what was happening? You were being toughened up. You were getting that tough skin added unto you. And you were also being taught how the development of wisdom and how to execute your knowledge, which is wisdom. You were being taught that. And it says that then there are others that also exist simultaneously that didn't go through those life lessons well. They didn't develop a tough skin for one reason or another. They couldn't get to the point where they could make those very difficult decisions. They do not embody the gift of discernment. And so at this point in time, remember, we're living in this realm that is an illusion, highly deceptive place. Glitz, glamour, it seems like it's okay. But people are feeling vulnerable based on their sense of worldly security. And many can't see that. And so let me fast forward and say, if things get rough, rigid, hard, difficult, and challenging, unlike most of us know, because many of us are young. And our point of reference, when we look back, we see what? Popping bottles, vacationing, turning up, making love, going out to the dinner, the show, having family functions. We did that thing. That is our point of reference. We don't know about those historical horror stories we hear. They seem like they made up. I bring them up. The Holocaust, slavery, whatever else. Historically, it's been so much stuff. So many campaigns, so many wars. We don't know nothing about that. Hardship. We don't know nothing really about no hardship. Like the first, we can say, native folks that had to go out and hunt and cut trees and protect themselves from the wild animals and live one with nature and run around butt naked and with some maybe little moccasins on. We don't know nothing about that. And so if we are possibly moving into a more challenging time, and people have grown accustomed to living lasciviously, lavishly, popping bottles, good life, know nothing about the hardship. What effect or influence do you think that's going to have on them physically, as well as their psychological state? Well, I'll say this. Take it with you. That can be traumatic. And I want to stop here. That could be traumatic. So again, now you, because remember, I'm a bearer of bad news, but there are some good things that come out of this live stream. You can be happy. You could be thankful now for all of the tears that you've cried and the heartbreak that you suffered that helped you develop that tough skin and the wisdom that you have. You're ready. Now, I was talking about um, how we living in the deception. Some people can't see it and they're not going to be ready when it come upon them. I want to talk about the movie Bird Box. See, I was going to talk about the movie Bird Box. I'll talk about it here. I started to talk about another aspect that I was going to talk about, but I'll start with the Bird Box. Talking about the Bird Box. I did a video on the Bird Box, and I did my decoding. And so I'm not going to go all through it. I just want to talk about the part of the Bird Box that has to do with the dark energies, demons, or spirits, and how the people would see them and it almost looked like they were struck with fear. One of the characters in the movie said, hey, when you look upon these dark shadows, you will be looking at your worst nightmares, your greatest fears, and your greatest losses. Upon witnessing that or reflecting back upon that, number one is alone and isolated like at birth. You're with it, one with it. But these are things that you swept under the rug. These are things you didn't go get help for. You didn't go to the psychiatrist. You didn't talk it out with a friend. You just ignored it and you live lavishly and all that, these things. And so the Bird Box is dealing with, I was wondering, I was like, what made them put this movie out at this point in time? After I watched it initially. And then after I did the decode, and I said, what made the entertainment industry put this movie out at this time? Over time, I began to understand. And in the last 2 days, when I did the astrological interpretations, I said it makes sense. Subliminal messages. Messages to the public to let us know what is soon to take place. It seems that, how can I say this? In reality, if we hit a really, really rough patch like we don't know, because we don't have a point of reference of historically horror-like stories. We don't know that. So we hit a hard time. What can be defined or described by us as hard. Not being able to go on our vacations yearly, or not being able to eat ground round, and not being able to buy a new pair of shoes every 6 months. Can't buy no new drawers in a year or two. A light bill, you get the red strip on your light bill. The water company out there turning the key, and your hair start falling out. I've been through all this stuff, so I can talk about it, y'all. And we start going through some difficult things. Not everybody will, but some people just might. And you're meeting, people will begin to meet with their worst fears. It's scary to think that you open the refrigerator and it's empty and you're not going to have nothing to eat. That's scary. This is fear porn, YouTube. It's fear porn. Don't cut me off. Don't penalize me. But it's reality as well. It's an interesting fear point, but it's reality. And so we need to know this because it's about preparation. Preparation. Remember, the astrological energy said take account of what you have and be appreciative of it, take care of it, and then, of course, be a good steward of whatever you have. Figure out what else you need to add to your surplus to help get you through. And I'm not talking about doomsday prepping. I don't think it's going to go that far. I'm just saying I'm thinking it's going to get difficult. Price of food going to go up. Gas going to go up. All kind of stuff. I think it's going to be a lot more layoffs. It's just going to be different than we've known it to be. And we're not used to that. Again, we live luxuriously. And so the Bird Box, keeping with the Bird Box, why was the movie released? Why were those shadow beings there? Why were the people looking at these shadow beings and meeting with their worst fears, nightmares, and then committing suicide? Why was that shown in the movie? I believe that subliminally, I guess you can say, that the entertainment business was letting society know what they will soon face. People will be suffering losses. Some people can't handle that. I heard, but I don't know personally, that during the Great Depression, that there were very wealthy people that were wealthy when they went to bed at night, woke up in the morning, they was flat broke, couldn't handle it off theyself. Those that that moment that they realized they were broke and therefore would have to live as a poor person was their demon. They couldn't handle it. Everybody's breaking point is different. It's different. And so remember the demons in the movie The Bird Box were different. Everybody's breaking point is different. It could be something else. It could be for some that things get tight. Again, we are used to living lavishly. And we in this relationship with another, things get hard, challenging. Be like, hey, you got to bring your whole check home and put it in because we got to buy food because the cost of living went up. We got to fill the tank up so we can get back for it to work. But somebody want to party. They don't want to let go of the luxurious lifestyle. They want to pop bottles and keep turning up and the relationship break. That could be a breaking point for somebody. They take it personal. Number one, they're going to take that personal if it goes to that extent and say, oh, they don't love me. When the reality is they don't understand what's going on. They don't want to understand, but you do. You understand why a person in the case that keeping with that case scenario might get up and leave. You understand that because they want to pop bottles. But this is a period to be a good steward over your money and your resources because times might get hard. It might get challenging, or you might have a neighbor like me come knock on your door and say, I need some bread or something like that, And so that person in that scenario, losing their spouse or their significant other can be what? Their demon or their breaking point. On top of it, that person may realize, it's a one income house now. Things is already tight. What I'm going to do? Stress, another demon. And so that is why I say, even though I'm bringing bad news to you today, it also has a spirit or a backbone of good news and of which allow you to prep. There's nothing wrong with being more practical, I think. Anyway, just in case. Remember, I'm amateur astrologer, and this is an entertainment channel. But I just wanted to share that. And so I want to talk about other demons that a person may face that nobody else can see. Remember, your neighbors can't see. Only you can. Only your family can. It could be people, death keeps coming and going. But could you imagine going through stressful times and death occurs? Stressor, demon. Or talked about lost love or broken relationships in the midst of what call a depression. We'll call it depression. A depression going on, you get a breakup. A depression going on, somebody dies. A depression going on, and you get sick. You don't need to miss a day. Everybody's trigger is different. Everybody's demons are different. Everybody's fears are different. I just talked about the bird box. Now I want to talk about the dark side of the moon. I think somebody said China put something over there to see the dark side of the moon. When I heard that, I said, because I kept hearing it. First I ignored it, but it kept coming on everywhere I walk past TV or radio. I hear something about the dark side of the moon. I can't get there, so I really wasn't concerned with it. But why they keep talking about the dark side of the moon? Who cares what's over there? I ain't going there, not that I know of. But why do they keep pushing this out to the public? The dark side of the moon. Subliminal message to the populace to let us know what is soon to take place. So let's decode the dark side of the moon and the meaning. We know that the moon represents what? Your inner emotional state. Your inner emotional state is developed or cultivated by your life experiences. The good, the bad, and ugly lead you to feel some type of way. For the bad stuff, we usually suppress, we push to the back of our mind, kind of drops down into the psyche, and it compounds and compounds. We are considered healthy if we're able to keep that stuff, put up, and no outbursts and things like that, no outbursts or crazy actions. You're deemed sane in this world, but it's still there. It's still there. That's why we have the field of psychiatry, so that we can go talk to somebody, so that we can get it out, so that we can cry over it, so that we can figure some things out or release it. But we're looking at the collective. Most of us don't do it. Now, a lot of what I talk about from the place where I am, my mind. I'm from the United States. But on the news, here on YouTube, I see videos about other parts of the world. And in some parts, it don't look good. Yes, I knew you was going to wait all night long. What? I said I knew you was going to wait all night long. But right now, put it right there. I don't even know. Tell you about. Okay, I'll talk to you. Okay, I'll see you. Thank you for coming to see me. Bye. Lock the door. Love you too. Okay. I forgot. Let me catch up with myself. I got to slow down so I can catch up. YouTube, news, other parts of the world. Is it just propaganda? Because here in the United States, we talking a lot, but we don't seem like we doing a lot. But the news and the YouTube, is it propaganda? Because some other folk seem like they're doing a whole lot. They marching, throwing fire bombs, flipping cars. Now this is a question I got. The wall. I'm coming back to the dark side of the moon. Donald Trump want to build this wall. And I'm about to say something that YouTube gonna get mad at me about. Just say it, Nancy. I kind of feel, I don't really follow politics, but he say he has this government shutdown thing going on here in the United States. And he say if y'all don't give me the funds that I want to build this wall, then the government is going to stay shut down. I said I was going to talk about that. I didn't finish interpreting the astrological energies, but based on what I was reading in the astrological energies, those astrological energies could possibly manifest with that scenario. When I say that scenario, I'm talking about Donald Trump and shutting the government agencies down, partial shutdown. And if he don't get his funds to build the wall. I personally kind of feel like, the government, not the government, the United States is being held hostage and being forced to bend to his will. Now, I feel like this, if they're going to build a wall, then build a wall. If it is necessary, again, I don't know much about politics, then build a wall if it's necessary. And people have to come in by the means in which you come in. I don't know. But to hold the country and the welfare of the people hostage, to force this particular project, to me, is insane. But I want to extend that possible scenario of how I can see these astrological energies unfolding. See, what am I saying? I'm saying, remember, we made a whole bunch of life choices and had our experiences individually and collectively. Now's the time we're going to live out the residual effects. They're going to come on quick. While we busy watching folks popping bottles, we popping bottles too, but they popping them big, living lavishly and all that kind of stuff. And we seeing all this stuff we want. It's enticing us and stuff like that. The astrological energy say, know what you got, take care of what you got, be a good steward over it. Have discernment. Understand that you're living in a deceptive time period that can throw you off. You can think it's okay to pop bottles, but it's not. Remember, the astrological energy seemed like it was saying, hey, people going to be after their own interests. So what will really push society to go after their own interests in an extreme way? The government won't open back up. There's no end to the government shutdown. Whether it being partial, it could be a complete government shutdown or an extended government shutdown. This is scary. Really, it is fear porn. Don't get afraid, y'all. We just getting this out so we can see, so we can get ahead of the game. But let's say it's just a partial shutdown that continues. And it begins to affect more and more departments little by little. I don't know how it works. That's affecting and influencing a lot of folks' life. And what I was going to say, I hate when people mess with me when I'm doing something I forget. No end to the government shutdown. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Is that in years past, it seemed like it's been a shutdown every year. I think for the last 3 years, at least I can think back and say, oh, government shutdown. Oh, government shutdown. But at that last moment, in the last hour, they say, of that extension, the president or whoever signed a document, ends the government shutdown. Everything goes back to normal. The last minute, the last hour of the extension, Donald Trump. He doesn't seem like a man to me that will wait to the last minute and the last hour to sign anything. It seems like he will take it to the max, to me. But again, I could be wrong. I'm just looking at some possible scenarios of how this energy could manifest. And I think that if he doesn't get what he wants, it seems like he's holding the country hostage. If he don't get what he wants, the government, there will be no end to the government shutdown, and it will continue. And it will affect and influence people's second house Taurus. We've talked about that. Second house Taurus represents a person's personal, physical, worldly wants, needs, and desires. Those things that are the basics, to sustain in life. It goes from that all the way up to living lasciviously will be affected and influenced. There are a lot of things going on that I'm personally noticing. Talked about it a little earlier. The cost of food. When I was at the market, I was like, wow. And I was talking to somebody in the grocery store, some of the people that own the grocery store, because I was fussing about the greens for the holiday. Like $1.99 for some greens per pound. I was cussing and fussing. And they said, well, due to, I guess, the immigration stuff, the way I guess they could see, the people that they buy from are selling their crops higher because a lot of their workers, the people that plucked and worked their machines were, I guess, immigrants. And since they sent a lot of the immigrants back, now the crops are just laying in the field. Now that's what I kind of got from a store owner. I don't know if it's true. Makes sense. So as a result, they don't pluck as many crops, but what they do have, they sell at a higher rate in order to make their money to survive. And the store, of course, taxes it or, it's a little higher because they need to make their money too. And the consumer, me, and other people in my community are stuck with these very high food prices. It's not the first time I've seen it. About 3 years ago, I think it was, I went into the grocery store and I went to get some eggs. It was like, what is a dozen and a half eggs? Was $9.99. I repeat, $9.99 for a dozen, 2 dozen and a half of eggs. You won't see somebody spin around in the middle of the floor like Tasmanian devil after the food in that market. I took a picture of the sign. I blew it up on my phone. The next few people that came by, I asked about it. I went and got the store owner and asked, what is this? Because I thought it was a misprint. Anytime 2.5 dozen or whatever it is, 30 eggs, whatever, is $9.99. It's a problem. It's a problem. And that was a few years ago. And since then, I've seen different things fluctuate out of its normal range that were of concern to me. Eventually, it drops down. You know how we do it. If you have to, you adjust your shopping and you get something different until the price go down. And so why am I bringing that up? Because it shows that Bible scripture that talks about in the last days how much it will cost to buy a quart of wheat. We're here. We're here. And so it is important for us to do what? Be good stewards over our money. How might we be good stewards over our money? Well, if you're a gambler, stop gambling, cut back on gambling, save, buy bargains. I don't know what y'all got in y'all community. Aldi's, Save a Lot, those kind of things of necessary food pantries. But I'm jumping the gun. I was about to talk about the dark side of the moon when I started rambling. So I want to talk about the dark side of the moon and why that particular bit of propaganda is being pushed out onto the public. The moon. Talk about remember your deep emotional feelings, how you feel after your entire life of having whatever experiences you've had, and do you feel secure in this life? Do you know that you're going to have a roof over your head? Do you know that there's going to be somebody that you can lay your shoulder on and talk to or cry, or somebody is going to be rooting for you? Do you know? Do you have backup? Do you have support? Based on a person's individual answer determines possibly this inner emotional state, and if it is a dark state, that sinks into the subconscious and it lingers, it stays there, and it rottens and it festers. And the dark side of the moon, if China, I think it's China, someone's here, if China is trying to see the dark side of the moon, that suggests it's got us like, what you see, China? What you see over there? We're not really looking at what we call, I guess, the natural moon or the astrological moon. No, they're beckoning us to look at our own dark moon, the darkest things that dwell in your psyche, just like in that movie, The Bird Box. Look into the dark. See, it's beautiful. It is false with the moon. In the Bible, it says when you hear safety and security is false, not true. There you go. That goes back to the glitz and glamour, thinking that's where we are. It appears, keeping up kind of with current events, that we're not in that place. We're not in the place. And we know that because the big old thing about the middle class getting thin, either the middle class, some sinking into the poor working class, others have successfully made it over and will become a part of the wealthy. Those people that tantalize us and say, oh, it's possible. It's possible. But back to the dark side of the moon, and China wanting to see the dark side of the moon piques our interest. What's on the dark side of the moon? Well, we'll find out. You'll find out what's on the dark side of your moon if a scenario like I'm talking about unfolds, where we have a depression. We don't know anything about living in a depression. Yes, we've had what they've titled, again, propaganda, a depression. And I guess it was, but I think it was more of a setup where people were losing their homes, property, 401k, all these kind of things. Again, that's a whole nother live stream and really, really deep. And I have to do some research before I put my foot in my mouth. So I'm a digress right there. And so what am I saying? I'm saying that the it is possible that there will be no end to the government shutdown before the deadline. Possible. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping that's now how this astrological energy will manifest, but it's a possibility. And if that were to occur, the things that we saw in the movie Bird Box would most likely occur, especially if it went on for an extended amount of time. Now, it seems based on the current events and things, that I've been seeing, and that things are going to change. Things are definitely going to change. I talk about them relative to the new paradigm and how technology is taking over, and therefore we don't need a large human workforce. So we may have to come up with, when I say we, I'm talking about the world or the United States primarily, have to come up with a universal income. Everybody gets a portion in order to sustain their life. Because again, the job pool is being redefined. Work is being redefined. If a person is not competent or proficient in certain fields, then you kind of, left with more minimal jobs, or what they call it, entry level jobs, those kind of things. And those things may be diminished as well. But this is another thing, y'all. This is something I thought about today. Now, if government, we can assume also that they're going to make some changes to like welfare reform and different things like that, right? And so people again will be facing more challenges. It'll be like a depression to them. Is that God dang, I forgot I was going to say. I'll talk so much. Anyway, it was something else I want to say. Let me think if I can say what I wanted to say. Oh yeah. Yeah. Talked about that. Partnerships. Yep. Oh, yeah. Talking about those that, like myself, that are already low income, struggling, trying to make it work, working paycheck to paycheck, those kind of things. The most, I guess, minor changes made in society can lead to more hardships and difficulties. Like I talked about, possible lack of immigrant workers, running up the price of foods, vegetations, and things like that. Yeah, one world currency, and that's the Bitcoin. It might not be called Bitcoin, but it's going to be like, what is that called? I did talked about that. Like electronic funds. That's the want to be the one world currency. It's going to be international, and that's what they're moving toward. And like the price of food going up. Well, even the working class, that's going to affect the price of food going up. The thing about the gas that was taking place over the last 6-7 years, it seems like the gas prices have stabilized for now. Yeah, the number. Ooh, I'm gonna tell you about that number 666. I ain't even finished the astrological. Let me just, because I'm rambling now. Let me see, because if it was something, because I hate when I get, I'm like, ooh, that was important. And the astrological energy says and suggests, this is, remember, the advisor. It says focus your energy, or one should focus their energy toward addressing the demands of life. Remember the demands of life. What it's saying, leave the buffoonery alone, leave the extravagance alone. Focus on sustaining your life in a good way and those up under your care, so that you can be healthy, so that you can have food, so that you won't be worried, so that y'all can have time to build memories. Stop chasing that perpetual fantasy of extravagance. And, again, kind of get back to a more simplistic life. And the temptation there is that we will be seeing others that will be living still lasciviously. Remember, there is a divide that is happening. There are going to be people with money. There are going to be the people that are comfortable. And a lot of those people, some of them, I'll say, really are proficient in a particular area. They know how to manipulate this world. and therefore they get paid more. And then there are those that are just lucky enough, and that's part of their life and their life experiences, which will be a part of their testimony. So we're going to see them living big and wonder why we can't. You know what I'm saying? And so we got to learn how, for those of us that will be affected in this way, learn to live more simplistic, and it takes the stress off. It's interesting. It's interesting. Oh, man, I don't know. I just watched somebody's video. I'm not going to say because I don't know who it was. It's talking about living more simplistic. Oh, I think I know who it was. Living simplistically. Yeah. And it's just saying living more simplistically. Individuals, it's talking about how people will be during this time period. And when I say during this time period, I mean the energies unfold and then they continue. They move until it satisfy, the energy that is supposed to do. These energies come into play and they continue. They can continue for years until we do what we need to do to cause the adjustments in this physical realm. I don't know if y'all watched that video where I was talking about the physical realm. And I don't even know the name of that one. I was talking about the physical realm, trying to describe it. Until we do what we need to do, those energies will continue to move and do their job. And so it's saying how people will be absolutely pushy and extreme in order to satisfy their needs. We talk about more of the more egotistical needs, but then there will be those that really are struggling to just live a simplistic, simple life, And so we move forward. Individuals' consciousness, contribution. Then it talks about partnerships. It talks about partnerships. And it's saying, hey, okay, now take a look at your partners. And I say it this. And so I'm picking up on a lot of symbolism or what is I've been using the word subliminal kind of messaging. I was saying around Christmas, I noticed that the people that I was friends with on Facebook, most of them gathered around and took their family photos. I call them professional, self-made professional family photos. And I was saying some years everybody took pictures of their tree. Other years, everybody took pictures of their gift, different things like that. But this year I saw it was most people were actually all the pictures I saw were of the family together. And I was like, that says something to me, that subconsciously we know something, that this year we took pictures with our family, people we don't like, people we argue with, things that happen in family. But it's important because remember, went through this evaluation process to look at what we have in our lives readily available to help and assist us. And one of the things the astrological energy suggests we look at are the people that are around us in our intimate space, our spouses, our lovers, our children, the parents, the in-laws, whoever's in your intimate space, and look at why are you related? Why are you engaging each other? The parties can be relatives, but what can you work together to bring into existence? What can you do for each other? Are you beneficial to each other, or are you detrimental to each other because of constantly arguing and bickering and things like that during this time period? Who wants to be around somebody that, again, is going to be arguing and wanting to fight you or cuss you? And so, again, it might be this time to distance ourselves from certain people, and to build a strong tribe. That's what I'm saying. Christmas shows that we have embraced our tribe, to me, and we're looking at them and saying, okay, I can work with this person because they can bring this to the table. I got this to bring to the table. And so we are solidifying our tribe because we know some of us are going to have to work together to get through this difficult time or challenging time that I'm presupposing may come into existence based on the premature astrological interpretation that I've done. And again, so it's just talking about looking at your partnerships, understanding who the people are and what their potential contribution is into your life. Some people can be there, if you select wise that can really help you. They can pick up some of the weight. You do your thing, they do theirs, and the final outcome is something that's satisfied, you safe, you making memories or whatever. But if you select to stay in partnership with people that want to argue, cuss, and fight and abuse the resources that you have, then the chances are that you'll meet with additional lack, those kind of things. But you have the right, of course, to do what you desire to do. And it talks about how you as an individual, how we as individuals will interact with each other. It talks about our social disposition and how, many of us, I believe, are going to kind of mature because we got wisdom now. And did I talk about the moment? Yeah, I talked about the moment of enlightenment where I don't know if I said that. I know I skipped a page. It's supposed to be, if I hadn't said it, a moment of enlightenment where you understand that, something going on and you got to make a move. You got to be on your P's and Q's. And so keeping with the possible scenario that I offered, not to say it's true, but that moment of enlightenment, Uranus, is possibly when you hear on the news, ain't no end to the government shutdown. Boop, sudden, shocking, be like last minute. Nope, didn't do it last minute. What you saying? You mean it's going to continue? You're going to keep the government shut down, huh? You might extend it until you get what you want. He not signing nothing. He ain't giving into it. That moment of enlightenment, that moment will be shocking, sudden, and enlightening, offering you the opportunity to really be able to see that and to understand what's taking place, to start to know that things are getting serious and the potential for what? A depression, possibly. Again, I'm not speaking of this as truth. I'm speaking of this as just a possible scenario. I just kind of want to share because I saw this correlation between the government shutdown, the astrological energy, the movie The Bird Box that is trending. I mean, it's hot. It was hot. And this thing about the dark side of the moon, looking at your deep and most worst fears ever, and looking at losses. That's what all of this stuff that their propaganda, the movies, and that's what it points to. That's what it suggests. It seems like entertainment industry has been giving the responsibility to give the messages to the populace in a way of a subliminal messages through, again, the movies and the announcements on the news. Because the dark side of the moon, what's over there? So I ask you, what is on your dark side of the moon? Is it something over there that you might need to deal with? Why might you want to deal with it? So that you can have a tougher skin, so that you can think clearly, so that you can act appropriately, practically, and effectively at this point in time that there might be increased challenges, so that you can honestly be able to see what's really before your eyes and not be enchanted by all the glitz and the glamour. That seems to be what the astrological energy and all of this information is saying. And the last thing, I didn't finish deciphering it, but it was the ninth house, and it talks about a person's philosophical viewpoints, beliefs, and things like that. And it talks about, which one is first? A person's emotional status. It almost seems like, and I'm kind of just jumping, where you end up at going through this life experience depends on where your mind is. It almost seems like, again, I didn't interpret this energy. It's like you have to have a strong mind a very strong, conscious, and active mind. Because not only does your mind allow you to think, to process, to perceive, it also has an impact or influence on your emotional state. Based on what you believe determines how you'll act towards something, those kind of things. And so how can I say this? If you got a weak mind and you're easily led due to some emotional, I'll say, limitation, weakness, whatever the case may be, then how much of a soldier can you be at a challenging time? You know? And if you're not a soldier, how can you make it through this, scenario or supposed experience if you ain't got, how does the Bible say? It says keep the armor of God on you at all times or something like that. If you're not fortified, the first place is in your mind. It seems like it's saying fortify your mind and allow yourself to see clearly, and allow yourself, once you see clearly and you see what you're really dealing with, you can control your emotions. But if you're constantly enticed and allured by everything, it's jerking your emotions around, and you're not the steward of your life, that kind of thing. And you can be manipulated, you can be deceived, you can be misled, even to the point that you misappropriate your physical resources at a time that you might need to be more thrifty or frivolous or something like that, or more practical. And it talks about, what was this about? Yeah, it's this link between the mind and the emotional state. And you know how your mind, if you constantly thinking or you're worrying, it can mess with you emotionally. And if you're really, really emotional, it can mess with your mind. So there needs to be a balance. And the balance is brought on basically by how you feel about yourself. I did a reading for a neighbor once, and I was reading this chart, and it had a lot of like fire energy, Leo energy in it, and it really showed him as a powerful authority figure and things like that. And whatever else was in his chart, I don't remember. But I remember I posed a question, something like this. I said, if you're a king, are you a king because you have a golden throne on your head? Now, must you have a golden throne on your head to know that you're a king? I said something like that. But if you're a king, you're a king, whether you got the golden throne on your head or not, golden crown on your head or not. And he responded and said, "Oh, in order for me to be king, I have to have the golden crown on my head." And that was interesting to me, because a real king or real warrior from the heart, they don't need the bells and whistles to still be who they are. It's difficult to throw them off their square, is what I'm trying to say, because they know who they are on a deep psychological, spiritual level, and that manifests in the physical. Is it challenging? Yep. Can you be weak? Yep. Can you cry? Yep. Can you worry? Yep. But still, if you are a king, when you are called, or a warrior, when you're called to duty, you will fulfill your duties and your obligations responsibly and practically, not only for yourself, but those under your care. But if you are not trained or mature or haven't embraced any of the spiritual gifts, then this is a time in which one could be again deceived and be very wasteful, and lose their way during this proposed time period. Now, I don't know what else I forgot. I just been rambling. I just wanted to share that. Again, this was a live stream about me being the bearer of bad news, because that's what I wanted to do. Again, it's not no guarantee. I just gave a scenario that I saw when I was doing the astrological interpretations. And I had just last week or so viewed the bird box. And then they started again talking about the dark side of the moon. And I'm like, and then it was this wall and the government shut down. And it just all seemed like it went together. It really went together. And it seemed like it was just delivering a message that tells us, get ready. Y'all ever watch one of them videos on YouTube? The pastor be preaching, be like, get ready. Get ready. What does it mean to get ready? It's saying, hey, be a good steward over your life and your resources and look at reality. And it's all right to live a little simplistic. You don't have to be extravagant. Well, thank you for coming here to Can Angels Fly Tarot Live and allowing me to talk to you about all this bad news. All this bad news. Now I'm going to try to get off of here and allow this to upload and play back, whatever it do, so I can watch it, because I never got to see the chat because this doggone computer messed up, y'all. So I'm going to get it together. Thank you and blessings. Thanks and blessings to you too, Maria, and the rest of you. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. As soon as I can figure out how to get off here. That's the next challenge. I think I got it. Something like this. Let's see.